So continuing with the push button example, now I'm going to implement the debounce function. So you can find the reference code in the Arduino IDE under File, Examples, Digital and Debounce. On the Arduino's website under Tutorial, there is some explanation given about the debounce of push buttons, which explains as push buttons often generate spurious open-close transitions when pressed due to mechanical and physical issues. These transitions may be read as multiple presses in a very short time, fooling the program. Now this example will demonstrate how to debounce an input, which means checking twice in a short period of time to make sure the push button is definitely pressed. Without debouncing, pressing the button once may cause unpredictable results. This sketch uses the millisecond function to keep track of the time pressed since the button was pressed. Now why I need this? I want to use the push button in almost all my Arduino demos in this playlist. I want to put the debounce sketch code in a separate function, and I want to focus on the Arduino code per demo or per exercise that I'm doing, and I want to reuse the Arduino debounce code in all my demos. I want to keep it separate. I don't want to be part of my loop function. Okay, so what did I do? This is how I took the sample code, the example code of debounce, and I put it into a separate function, and I made it a boolean type of function calling it debounce, which is on my right hand side over here. Okay, so in this what happens basically is I have defined some global variables which are same as that what came with the original example debounce code. The important thing to see here is the last debounce time, which is 0, and the debounce delay, which is set to 50 milliseconds. Okay, under the setup function I'm defining the D2 button pin again as an input. This is what the loop code is minimized to. Otherwise, if you open the example debounce function, you will find all this code inside the loop function. And I'm interested only to add the new piece of code in each of my demo. So I'll just need to keep 2 of these lines, and in this first statement I am basically calling the debounce function right away, and in the debounce function it checks whether the button is pressed, and if it's a truly pressed, it's not a spurious input, and that can be checked by this if statement over here. Like it checks when the last when it is pressed and when it was the last time that it was pressed. If the time difference is more than 50 milliseconds, then it is considered as a truly pressed. Okay, and since it's a boolean function, all it returns back is a true or a false. It returns a true when the button is truly pressed, and it returns a false, and so my piece of code will not execute if the button pressed value is false. Okay, I want it to execute only when it is truly pressed. So I have put together, like going back to the demo, I'm going to open my project, debounce counter, and this is the code I was just showing you. So you can see this debounce function is over here of boolean kind, and this is how small my loop looks like, and this is the code I am truly interested in after the button is pressed. So on my Arduino board I have a LED which I want it to blink on and off based on the button press. I have a counter value set up over here, and that this counter variable is global in type, and it will keep on incrementing on every time that the button is pressed. So I'm going to compile the code first. It is done compiling. I am programming the code or the sketch to the Arduino board. It is uploading to the board right now, and it is done uploading. So going back to the serial terminal here, or the serial output, I'm clearing the previous output, and now you will be able to hear each time that I'm pressing the click, you will see it incrementing on the serial terminal. 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times. And sometimes, if people are a bit slow in releasing the button, and without implementing the debounce function, the counter might increase 2 times if the debounce code is not implemented. But in this case, I've pressed it, I've kept it pressed, but the counter value does not increase, and now I have released it, and now I continue again. So as you can see, it's a very clean way of incrementing the counter, and this is the real benefit of implementing the debounce code when using a push button switch. Thank you for watching this demo.